elected by West Mugirango constituency in Nyamira County. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. My name is Peter Chamweno. I'm Director of Departmental Committees, and with me are members of staff from the Justice and Legal Affairs Committee. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Seme is the place of Dr. Nyikal, Chairman have. That's Professor Dual. Shows how to produce professors and doctors. Thank you. Secretary Tams, please give him the off.
Use the Bible. Do I hold on the right hand?
Right hand.
Good. I, Francis Odhiambo, do swear that the information I shall give before this committee on the matter under its consideration shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So help me God.
Right, Professor. Now we give you just about 10 minutes. Can you walk us through the journey of your life, right from some place in Seme to this great city of Nairobi, and today to this seat? They must be extremely interesting, and one which I think our young people should be listening to as to what a human being can achieve. Start, Professor.
Thank you very much, Chair. First of all, I would like to express my special appreciation to our President, His Excellency Dr. Ruto, for finding it fit to nominate me to come and appear before yourselves with the hope that I can be eventually appointed to be a commissioner in IEBC. Chairman, I also would like to thank you for even convening this committee to come and listen to me on this special day of Saturday. And perhaps more important for me also is that I find that I'm among some of the people who I know well and seem to know me well. Each one of them declared that they didn't have conflict of interest. Perhaps I should also do so, but now that I'm sitting on this side, maybe I'm not expected to do so. Chair, I understand you come from Tharaka Nithi. The only interest I might declare is that I've had a chance to be in a place called Marimanti. Now, that's
my constituency, Marimanti.
Yes, I've been there, but that's another story. Thank you. My name is Francis Aduo. I am a Kenyan by birth and ancestry. My ancestral home is in Seme sub-county or Seme constituency of Kisumu County. You asked me to start my story basically from the village. And so the village is in Seme. I come from a small place called Alungo. right on the shores of Lake Victoria in Seme sub-county. I went to schools, local schools in Seme, primary school, and partly to a primary school in Kisumu municipality. I took my secondary school education at Kisumu Boys High School, and my high school at Maseno School. After Maseno School, I joined the University of Nairobi to study for a Bachelor of Science in Engineering degree with specialization in the area of surveying and photogrammetry. On my graduation, I took up a job with the Government Survey Department as a land surveyor, and on which I stayed for about 13 months. And then I was invited back to the University of Nairobi to take up a position as tutorial fellow, which position put me in a situation where I was a junior lecturer and also a postgraduate student at the same time. On completion of my master's degree, I was shortly afterwards promoted to the position of lecturer, and subsequently I won a scholarship to proceed for my PhD studies in the Federal Republic of Germany at the University of Stuttgart, where I completed my PhD in 1988 and graduated with a Doctor of Engineering degree in the field of geodesy. Geodesy is the mathematical study of the size and shape of the Earth. It is an important area in the broad field of surveying. So I'm an expert on how large the Earth is, or how small it is, how it looks like, and those kind of things. On my completion of the PhD, I returned to Kenya and continued with my work at the University of Nairobi. Shortly after that, I was promoted to the position of senior lecturer. And in 1994, I became an associate professor in surveying at the university. In 2001, I became full professor and gave my inaugural lecture in 2006. Going back a little on the professional side, I'm a fully registered surveyor in this country. And within the University of Nairobi, I was involved in a lot of things to do with university administration. I was head of department in 1991 to 1995. 95 to 1999, I was dean of the Faculty of Engineering. And from 99 to 2000, College of Architecture and Engineering. In 2008, I was appointed to become the inaugural principal of what was then the Kenya Polytechnic University College. And when the University College was promoted or elevated to university status in 2013, I also became the inaugural Vice Chancellor. I did my 2 terms of 5 years, and completed my tour of duty successfully in 2023 May, and thereafter I took up a position as professor in the Technical University of Kenya. This was a position on contract now, and my contract just expired about how many days ago? I think 16 days ago. I did my last day at the Technical University of Kenya on 15th May. And so roughly, that has been my journey. Now, as a university administrator, I have been involved in a lot of work in this country at committee level, and you will see from my CV, I think I've been involved in almost 40 committees. Probably 20 of them I have been chairman, most of them to do with the development of higher education in this country. I will just cite a few, about 4 things or 5 things that I've been involved in, and then probably we can continue from there. At the University of Nairobi, I was the first person to chair. I chaired the first strategic plan of the University of Nairobi. I also became chair of a committee that reviewed the structure of the University of Nairobi. I think this was around 2006, 2007. Before that, I chaired a major committee of the university that worked out the costs of academic programs in the university. This is what became known in this country as differentiated unit cost. And before that, I chaired another committee which was tasked with the responsibility of determining how many lecturers the university needed to have. And a lot of this was original work, which meant that I had to think through and come up with formulas that could work. And later on, I think in 1998, I was a member of a very important committee which worked out the methodology of that those days Joint Admissions Board, the methodology for admitting students in the university, what eventually became known as the weighted cluster method. This is the method that is still used now by KUCCPS to admit our students in the university. We revised it in 2012. At that time, I was now the chair of the committee. And a lot of this was original work, so I developed a formula which allows us to do this. I have served on international committees in the International Association of Geodesy. At one stage, I was a member of the subcommittee dealing with statistics and computations. I consider myself to have specialized expertise in that area, and I was made a member of this subcommittee. I have served as a member of the Association of Commonwealth Universities, which is the Commonwealth universities in the world, created in 2013, responsible for 500 universities in the world. The membership is usually about 25 people, and I consider that this was big prestige that I should have been nominated to serve on this committee. So, Chairman, I think this gives a rough view of what I am. I've left out something which is to do with why I have applied to be a member of IEBC Commission. So I don't know whether I can tackle that right now, or I leave it to you to prompt me. Thank you.
We will prompt you, because all of us are looking at exactly the professor. So, Professor, take a piece of paper and a pen. We will ask our question in succession quickly, and when your time comes, I'll guide you to give concise answers so that we do not take a lot of time on this. And just to start us off, Professor, there is no doubt whatsoever in your academic field, in the survey engineering, you are an expert par excellence. I don't think anybody would doubt this, although we do not have the experience in those fields. But suddenly, and later in life, you now have to become an expert in election matters. Start with telling us, what expertise are you taking to IEBC, so that when Kenyans look at the IEBC Commission itself, they see Professor Francis Aduol. They know for sure IEBC is going to deliver elections that are fair, free, credible, and verifiable. What gives you that metal which you can give to us regarding your expertise in election matters, and especially in view of the fact that you've been a scientist who knows the size of the earth, how big it is or how small it is? Thank you. Honorable Mutuse.
Thank you, Chairman. I would allow the professor to finish taking his sip, so then he can be able to write. Talk to us about the delimitation of boundaries. You know, there has been debate in this country, and I know you are also familiar with the provisions of Article 89 of the Constitution. There has been debate about where to put in more weight: population, geography, historical community interests. In your own expertise, and now as a nominee to become a commissioner at IEBC, what is your view regarding delimitation of boundaries in view of those parameters? And Kenya is, because you have said you are an expert of the earth, and Kenya is part of the earth. Kenya, and you know sizes and you know all these things. Kenya is presently electoral-wise divided, 290 constituencies, 1,450 electoral wards, 47 counties. Are we overrepresented? Thank you.
Thank you very much. From there we go to Honorable Mogaka, West Mugirango.
Thank you so much. As an offshoot from the Vice Chair's question, Professor, and thanks for applying. What expertise are you able to bring to the Commission if you were appointed to help us circumvent or expeditiously achieve the boundary delimitation that was contemplated, were it not for the lack of IEBC? The second question is about your tour of duty at the university. There have been allegations, true or false, that at the university marks are traded for cash or other considerations, including sex. How true are these allegations during your tour of duty? And can you allay the Kenyans' fears that votes are not going to be traded for whatever? And finally, I noted in your opening remarks you had a lot of gratitude to His Excellency the President for nominating you to this, to come for this interview, and thanks for also showering gratitude to our chair. But then, to the Kenyans watching, is there a chance that that gratitude to the nominating office might be extended to favor if you were in that commission? In other words, my neighbor at Continental House, the prospective presidential candidate last year, can he rest assured that you will not be of favor to His Excellency Dr. William Ruto at his expense? And that is with a lot of respect to every other aspiring candidate, including Emeritus CJ David Maraga. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Odhiambo.
I thought Honorable Farah was going to object to mention of Honorable Salasia's name. Why would a professor of geospatial science and engineering want to be a commissioner at IEBC? Thank you.
Honorable Kalemba.
Now, Chair, IEBC is an entity associated with huge pending bills, and mostly after elections. I would like to ask the professor, what is his relationship with pending bills, and especially while at the Technical University of Kenya?
All right, Honorable Makalim. John.
First is to allow the professor a 45-page CV. I think I'm impressed. But Professor, I think you are involved in largely in the Independent Boundaries Review Commission that was chaired by the late Ligale in the delimitation of boundaries. And I have seen from the folders you actually played a critical role in the delimitation of boundaries at the first time. after that report created hue and cry. There was a series of litigation that went to courts over that report. In fact, some people still cry up to now because of that report. We are yet to do another delimitation of boundaries. What are the lessons learned from that from the work which you did, which if given a chance now by going to the commission, you will do differently and not do it the same way you did the other time, that will not generate a lot of litigation that was generated at that time by that report? What is the lessons learned from that report?
Thank you. Honorable Dawood of Wajir East.
Chair, my questions has been asked by my colleague from Nyamira.
Thank you very much. Honorable Farah from Dadaab, Garissa.
Professor, I see the CV and I see how much your services are required in the delimitation of boundaries in the future, because that expertise is one thing that I believe is in very short supply in this country. And but there are many of us who believe that the delimitation cannot be done before the next census, because the census of 2019 was doctored, and the courts have pronounced themselves to that. So unless there's going to be a credible census, which I believe will be done in 2029, we cannot do any further delimitation. But having said that, I just want to say that you have a sterling history, and we're looking forward to you doing an equally sterling job on the issue of delimitation, because you are an expert in that area. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Honorable Michael Musira, Ujorok.
Chairman, my question was on delimitation and has been asked.
Thank you.
Chairman,
I put on mine. Okay.
My question was on delimitation of boundaries and has been asked.
Thank you very much. Honorable Zaleha.
Thank you, Chairman. My question was also on delimitation, but I will also add one more on issues of technology. I believe many of the challenges we have with the electoral process in this country is about the systems and how we vote. There are many countries that have more population than us, and elections are always smoother and better. What do you think we can do better in the next general election so that we avoid the challenges of election malpractices and a lot of delays and many resources? I was thinking, if we've trusted our information with banks and everyone else, why not with the IEBC? Why can't we just have a mobile phone or a simple number to dial, and then you can vote from the comfort of your bed? Thank you.
Right. Professor. Now, some of the questions are intertwined, so you're able to marry question number one with many of them so that your expertise comes out straight away without repetition. Thank you.
Thank you, Chair. I will try to go in the order the questions came, and where I find that there is a repetition, probably I'll jump over it. Chair, I'm bringing to IEBC expertise, dedicated expertise in two dimensions. At a very basic level, I'm bringing in expertise in boundary delimitation because it fits in very well with my area of specialization as an expert in surveying and geospatial sciences. And that this is something I've done before. As has been alluded to here, I was very much involved in the work that brought forth the 290 constituencies that we have today. And I believe that I'm in a position to add great value in that respect. And given that one of the biggest challenges we are facing just now is how to carry out boundary delimitation as we approach the next elections. Secondly, in a much broader sense, my field of surveying and geospatial sciences is a powerful, carries within it powerful tools today that are being used in modern elections everywhere in the world. And I've mentioned elsewhere, the technology of digital cartography. You cannot carry out any elections without maps. That has been there before. The difference is that today it is digital so that you can be able to see your maps on the screen as elections are going on. This falls within my area of expertise. The technology of remote sensing. Remote sensing today gives us maps which are produced directly from images taken by satellites in space. Most of us here will be familiar with Google Maps. The Google Map, in one of them, it shows you images the way you would see them directly. Those are remote sensing images. But they are not, remote sensing does not give us those images in that direct form. There is a lot of processing that must happen for it to be in that form. So we just take it that remote sensing helps us to produce those kind of images and those kind of maps. GIS. GIS is a powerful tool, and IEBC has a relatively strong department that deals with GIS. GIS helps us to create attributes for a given location or a given locality. You take any constituency, in GIS database, you will put in all the details of that constituency. And at the click of a button, it will give you all those details. How many MPs have been here? How many elections have been conducted here? How many votes were cast last time? Whatever it is you want to put in, GIS will do it. That is part of my field. And then GPS, which is Global Positioning System. It is strictly not just Global Positioning System. We call it satellite, Global Navigation Satellite System. At the beginning, it was GPS, because the Americans were the first ones to produce a global navigation satellite system, which was named GPS. But today, there are others from other countries, Europe, China, India, Japan, have their systems. And their systems have different names. This is a technology that allows you to find your location anywhere on the surface of the earth to an accuracy without a lot of effort of plus minus 1 meter. If you have in this room a GPS-enabled telephone, if you move from here to that corner, you will see that the coordinates will change. This is a powerful tool that can be used in elections. I don't want to go into the details here because it will take a lot of time. So those are dedicated expertise that I claim that I can bring to IEBC. But at a more general level, I have been in public administration for a long time. I have been in boardrooms, and so my experience in boardrooms and in public administration will be very useful in IEBC. Honorable Mutuse, you asked about delimitation of boundaries and where to put more weight. Actually, my involvement with IIBRC was purely because of this question. This is a question that was being raised by ECK already in 2004. And I was involved with ECK in 2004 when they were raising this question. That is how my involvement with boundary delimitation started. That they brought a commissioner to myself at the university, as believing I was an expert in this area, to ask, how can we do this? And I had never thought about this as a problem because it is not a specific problem in my field. There are so many other problems. So I sat down and came up with a formula which combines in a very analytical manner population and area. I remember when I made this presentation later on to parliamentary committee, those days we were doing the 290 constituencies and the constitution, I was even challenged to include poverty levels. There was a member of parliament from, I think, from northern Kenya who was interested in this. And I made a presentation subsequently with inclusion of poverty levels. Now, whatever we do, we cannot do boundary delimitation purely on population. That can't work for us as Kenya. And I always give this example. If you do pure population, Nairobi with its 4.7 million people today, or about 5 million, you will end up with about 30, 40 constituencies. Is that what we want for Nairobi? And at the same time, Northeastern might end up with 3 constituencies. Is that what we want? If you flip it onto the other side and you say we are going to do area, Nairobi cannot be a constituency if you do area alone. And Northeastern might end up with 50 constituencies. Is that what we want? No. So you have to come up with a compromise and have a formula which does this, Honorable. Kenya has 290 constituencies and 1450 wards. Are we overrepresented? This is a relative question. It depends on what we want to achieve. If you ask me today, and I was doing this thing, I will tell you as follows. We can have less than 290. We can stay with 290, which I think is a very bad option, to stay with 290. Or we can go to more than 290. I'll tell you why 290 will be a problem if we stay with it. The current distribution of constituencies in Kenya is based on the first attempt that created the 290 constituencies. When this work was done, it was known that it was never going to be the final piece of work. It was not complete. We were working within a constraint of time, and it was important to deliver results. There was a lot of argument about what was going on. So people agreed that we should do 290 constituencies. And the 290 constituencies was based on a simple arithmetic. 40 million Kenyans divided by 28.8 million Kenyans, which is what we had when we did 210 constituencies, multiplied by 210, you get 291. And then the MP said, hurrah, we shall have 290 constituency. This was based on a presentation I made in Naivasha to the Committee of Parliament. But the problem came in on how you now distributed this 290. The major constraint was here. There were certain constituencies that were already too small, and they needed to be retained. When you retain those small constituencies, the converse is that there are certain constituencies that should have been smaller, which now ended up being very big. I have given this example before. Which is the smallest constituency in Kenya? Lamu East, 18,000 people. This is according to the 290 when it was done in 2012, not today. So I'm quoting the 2012 figures because that is what we have as complete. Which is the biggest constituency in Kenya in terms of population? Mandera South, at 247,000 people. So you see this variation from 18,000 in Lamu East to 247. If you are fair to yourself, Mandera South should be divided into 2. And Lamu East should not exist. And yet, we had to retain that. So today...
Chair, excuse me, Chair. Are you talking of 260-something thousand people or voters?
People, human beings.
Say 247,000 people for...
In 2012.
For Mandera South. With respect to the 290 constituencies at 2012, based on the 2009 census.
For a fact, Kandu is larger than that.
Did it have over 247?
Honorable Chairman, I am talking about based on 2009. Today, the demographics have changed based on 2019. And I know how Kandui looks like. I know. And if we had time to discuss this a little later, I can tell you what. So, the situation therefore is, if you are going to sort out this problem, you may have to have more constituencies. Otherwise, you will have to kill others. And I don't know which member of parliament is going to sit in parliament, allow their constituency to be killed, and then go to the constituents and tell them that what I have brought you back for the 5 years you put me in is no constituency. So that's a problem. So I have answered your question without answering it directly.
You have answered most of the questions actually now. Let's move on kindly.
What expertise to achieve delimitation, I have said.
Answered.
And somebody said tour of duty, somebody talked about sex for marks, and whether we can be able to, or we might be able to translate this to IEBC. This is a two-part question, Honorable.
What's that one?
Sex for marks. I left university system, and I can claim this as a veteran administrator. I think I've seen a lot in the university system, and I can confirm that during my tenure, there are cases we dealt with where students were given marks for reasons that were not academic, and we dealt with them. Let me put it that way. Whether you can translate that to IEBC, in other words, because you are talking in a rhetoric manner, I will say this, from my perspective. Why should I do that? I've not been able to do it when I was in the university, where I've spent so many years. So why should I go to IEBC at this time in my life and age to try to do this? So what I'm trying to tell you is, if I were in the IEBC board, that kind of thing will not happen in my presence, and I will not support it. And you said I've extended gratitude to the president, so will I favor him? I would like to say this. A commissioner in IBC is being hired to go and do professional work. You're expected to behave professionally. You're expected to behave with integrity. And incidentally, there is a code of ethics that you must sign as you start work. This, and I think there are two of them. There is public officers, and there is a special code of ethics as provided for in the IEBC Act. Once you sign that, and you have done that, and you have lifted the Bible like I did. I am a Christian, and I believe that the Bible has a power. By the way, I've just lifted the Bible here because this is Parliament, but as a Christian, I'm not expected to swear by the Bible, strictly speaking, because you are already a Christian, and it is taken for granted. Now, how do you lift the Bible, sign a code of conduct, and then you start doing things like this? What's wrong with you? So, I won't do it. I won't do it. So, I'm extending gratitude to my president. President Ruto is my president, and as long as he's the president, I think I'm obliged to extend gratitude to him. I mean, he had the powers to decide that Francis Adul will not appear here today. He had the powers for whatever reason. Thank you. Now, Honorable Tiende Molo, why would a professor...
My question is already answered.
Already answered. Thank you, sir. Honorable Kalemba, IEBC, what is the relationship with pending bills? I thought, Honorable Kalemba, am I right, Honorable Kalemba? Karemba. With an R. Thank you, sir. I don't know how, what it means. I don't know whether you are talking about pending bills at IBC or pending bills from where they are coming from.
I'm trying to inquire how good were you at managing pending bills at the university?
Chair, the pending bills has been a phenomenon in the university system for a very long time. Already in the mid-90s, when we were at the University of Nairobi, we had pending bills, and many people may not know. The reason Module 2 was ever introduced, and I was involved in it, I am one of the people, 7 people selected by the university in 1997 to write a document that eventually created Module 2, and that document is where we are using for the first time the word Module 2 and the word parallel program. Why they were introduced in the University of Nairobi, then Francis Gichaga was the Vice Chancellor, was because the university was having pending bills. Many people don't know. By mid-90s, University of Nairobi was already having huge pending bills. This has been a phenomenon in the university system. And universities have tried to deal with it in the kind of ways that, like Module 2. But in my tenure, therefore, at the Technical University of Kenya, we had pending bills, and I left pending bills at the university. It has got to do with the way the government funds universities. And honorable members, as long as we don't have a proper funding formula for universities, the universities are going to have pending bills. If you would look in the records in this house, you will find several times when we as vice chancellors, and around 2016 to 2019, I was the chairman of the vice chancellors committee, and I headed vice chancellors to come to parliament just to talk about the fact that universities are not properly funded and we're accumulating pending bills. I have been in this very chamber talking about this issue. So I left pending bills, yes, but it has got to do with the fact that we don't have a proper funding formula for universities.
Just before you proceed from there, there are mamas in the streets that you are the one behind the new funding, university funding model formula. Is it true?
Thank you, sir. Actually, those should not be mamas. Those should be complement. Because I am the person behind the differentiated unit cost. I have a thick document here I came with today where we did this work for the first time in 2005. This document is dated 2004, presented to the University of Nairobi, and it is titled Unit Cost for Tuition and Student Welfare Services, Chairman Francis Adwo. This is the beginning of differentiated unit cost. And what we were trying to do was to look for a rational way of funding universities. Sadly, it took a very long time for the Ministry of Education to embrace this. And here I must give compliment to Honorable Matiang'i. When he was chairman, when he was the Minister for Education, Cabinet Secretary for Education, he is the one who had the courage to implement the differentiated unit cost, in spite of the fact that we had put it in the law in 2012. I was also a member of the committee that did the Universities Act in 2012, and we put DUC in there. So it is not like, why should people murmur about it? Because murmuring is like, it is something negative. It was a good thing. The only thing is, we have failed as Kenyans to implement this properly. Thank you.
The next question.
Let the professor come back to IEBC.
Let's go. Yes, the question was exactly like that. So he had to answer, he had also to speak to Kenyans on what we have had disputes with regarding the funding model. Having said so, the next question is by who? Makali, which was the next question?
I still have a number of questions. They don't have to repeat them. I can respond directly because
Thank you very much. Thank you.
The next question was by, you were involved with IEBC, Legal Commission, etc. So many people went to court. I think I've alluded to that. One of the reasons many people went to court are people who expected their constituencies to be divided. And it was not possible to do so because the number was capped at 290. You have about 30 constituencies which are too small to make a constituency, and you cannot kill them, so you have to make others too large. It is not like the people who did this work didn't know that there was a problem. Today, if we are doing this work, these are some of the things we need to rectify. Next, Honorable Farah, that the delimitation cannot be done before 2029. This is something I've thought through. Chairman, there are, with the delimitation of boundaries, there are three important issues that we must address if we are going to do it. First, the time for doing this expired in March 2024. Parliament will have to open that up to make it possible. And that takes us to the Constitution. Point number one. I'm rushing over this. Point number two, let us say we started it today. We started it today. My estimation is this work at best should take 12 months. And yet we are required to complete the delimitation with 12 months to go. So if we started today, and 12 months to go is end of July. So if we started today and everything was okay, we can manage. But will we be able to manage? That is problem number two. Problem number three, which I think is more difficult to handle. The court in January pronounced itself on census results for 3 counties of Mandera, Wajir, and Garissa, and put them aside. Honorable members, as we sit now, Kenya has no total population that you can talk about, because there are 3 counties whose populations are not there. So how do you get a total population? The 47.56 that we have is based on 2019, but part of it has been taken away. That is a problem. Now, if you are going to do boundary delimitation, the first thing you must have is the total population of Kenya. The judge directed that this work should be done within 12 months. Let us say it is done tomorrow. We still have a problem, because we will still not be able to determine the total population of Kenya. Why? Because the rest of Kenya is 24th, 25th August 2019. And then you have 3 counties with population of 2025. How do you add them up? You can't add them up to give the population of Kenya. But I'm convinced there are 50 million of us in this country. If push comes to shove, we can be able still to think through this. So, Honorable Chair, Honorable Farah, I'm convinced that we can still think through this. Now, you suggest that we can only do the delimitation probably by 2029. We run another risk, and Parliament will have to address itself to this. Supposing we don't do boundary delimitation and we are going for elections in 2027, some good Kenyan will go to court and declare that elections can't happen because the constituencies are invalid. They expired 12 years ago. Or, if they want to make life difficult for us, they wait for elections to happen, and then they go to court to challenge that the elections are invalid. So we have a lot of problems here that we have created for ourselves. But, as I said, there are 50 million of us in this country. We can think and find a solution to this. So, Honorable Chair, Honorable Farah, I know I've not answered you directly. The reason is I am trying to leave this open so that we can have more extensive discussions on the way forward on these very difficult questions. In the discipline of economics, they say that sometimes you have what is called a wicked problem. This probably is a wicked problem. A wicked problem is a problem for which you cannot find a clean solution. Honorable Selena, issues of technology. I think this was the last one, Chair. Issues of technology I have alluded to in my field. I've pointed out areas of technology. And those areas that I mentioned are applied everywhere today in making elections work well. Now, if you combine today, to do modern elections, you need geospatial sciences, you need ICT, and we have ICT people. The challenge there are very many people telling us that we can use the telephone to vote. I am sure eventually we will get there, but not for 2027. I think we are still stuck in a situation where people are used to the idea that you want to be able to verify that these are the so many votes that were cast and you can put your fingers on it. But we will progress onto this slowly. What I can say is, if I went to IEBC today, I would like to look at what can we do quickly in terms of application of technology that we can achieve by 2027. And we give ourselves a target at IEBC that every round of elections, we apply one piece of technology so that you don't have to apply a lot of technology at the same time, which is going to fail, and then you get embarrassed. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much. I think that answers it precisely. Mushira, I think yours is answered. What follow-up question?
Professor, I get you. You said that it might be wise for us to increase the constituencies. I've just been looking at this. The size of the biggest or one of the biggest democracies in the world, the United States of America, second biggest, I think, after India, is 10 million square kilometers, 9.8 something million square kilometers. They have only 435 members of parliament of the House, like a National Assembly. They have only 435 constituencies, and then 100 senators up there. We have a country expanse of 544,000 square kilometers, and we already have 290 constituencies for 47 women reps. I can't remember, it's 369, is it? Just in the lower house, so 349. 49.
And 67.
And we're only 50 million in population. We're only 544,000 in terms of square kilometers. And if why do we have to get more constituencies? If you make a comparison with India, the biggest democracy, population, land expanse, and vis-a-vis Kenya, it's crazy. We should have even less than 200 seats constituencies in Kenya. So is it not time for us to rationalize this instead of just going on this wild goose chase of trying to appease everybody by adding some more constituencies? It's not working.
Thank you, Honorable Farah. I think he was able to answer that by saying which member of parliament will walk into parliament as an elected member, and within the period of 5 years he walks back to say, I'm sorry, even the seat I had is now scrapped. So we have a problem in our hands, and let's not give Professor that one. I think it's really the members of parliament to ponder over it. Professor, let's look at a few routine questions. Sorry, I cannot find them. They're here. Professor, I don't expect any of this, especially to say Professor has been convicted of an offense in the past. Professor, can that be possible?
Sometimes it can be possible, but I have not been. I have not been, sir.
Professor, your reputation and what you have done in this country is well known, and thank you for that. Professor, Chapter 6. Have you been cited, especially as an administrator of the university, having contravened Chapter 6 of the Constitution on ethics and integrity?
No.
In any way?
No.
No. Potential conflict of interest with IEBC. Have you done any work with IEBC before? And if so, is it likely to impair the way you do things in terms of interest?
I've not worked with IEBC before, but if I become a commissioner and I'm confronted with a situation of conflict of interest, obviously the best thing to do is to declare interest.
Good. And you declare interest? Mm-hmm. And if it requires recusal, then you recuse yourself. Pro bono, charity work, donations to charity. Have you done any pro bono works, charity works, or made donations of importance to anybody in this country? Or any political party or any politician?
Political parties, no, not politician. But I have been involved in quite a number of Harambes for schools, for church, for health centers. Thank you.
Yes, thank you, thank you. That's part of our lives. Finally, Professor, what would you want this committee to do? What would be your last words to this committee?
Well, I came here with the hope that the committee will find me worthy to be a commissioner in IEBC. So what I would like this committee to do for me is to declare that I'm fit to be a commissioner in IEBC.
Thank you very much. There would be, Honorable Tiende Amolo may be interested in this, but now I don't know whether in the converse or whichever way, with a Y. Just first and foremost, what is your net worth? After declaration, we'll have Otiende Amolo make a comment regarding that. Thank you. What is your net worth and what does it consist of?
Thank you, sir. For the purpose of coming here, I got the services of a professional valuer. And he has told me that my net worth is 81.2 million Kenya shillings. And honestly, I was quite flattered because I didn't know I was so wealthy. Thank you.
Honorable Tiende Amolo.
For completeness of the record, how many years of public service? I think it is of interest to note that of that 81.2 million, your books alone are worth 5 million.
Thank you, sir. I have had a very long public service, I think very soon it might hit 50 years. But I know you are asking, why should I have been in public service for so long and I don't have so much money? I lived on my salary. And as a university professor, I was not paid a lot of money. And I have spent a chunk of my money. As a good professor of the university, one of the things I say to myself, Honorable Chair, is that my children will get the best education I can afford. And a big chunk of my money was spent ensuring that my children got the best education they could afford. They went to some of the best schools in this country, and they went to some of the best universities in the world, including Cambridge, and I paid for it from my pocket. Point number two, that 81.2 million, the valuer says is part of it is land and some buildings. I have 3 cars, which he has valued. One of them is a total wreck anyway, but we had to put it in there because it is worth something. And he has included household items. And my books are worth 5 million shillings. Thank you.
Honorable Stephen Mogaka, as we conclude, yes, what is burning?
As we conclude, there's a small burning here. During your acknowledgement of the implementation of the funding model for the university, you hailed Dr. Fred Matiang'i as the driver of the implementation, and I guess deservedly so. Now my question, if the name you mentioned were a presidential candidate at the ballot, and like you said for Dr. William Ruto, would you work in favor just because of giving him credit for implementing your funding model? And then number 2, last question, is Kenyans are usually very presumptuous, and you did mention that you come from Seme. Do you belong to any political party, for avoidance of doubt? Thank you, Chair.
All right, finally, you may answer those ones, Professor, before we release you.
Thank you very much, Chair. In academia, we are always trained to acknowledge anybody who has done good work. And that is why I'm acknowledging Dr. Matiang'i when he was Minister of Education. I'm just saying that I think he did a good job in this respect. I can't talk about in this respect. That does not mean that if he decided to be MP for, I don't know where exactly he comes from, but I imagine Borabu or someplace. If he decided to be MP for Borabu, or he decided to be governor for Nyamira, or even the president of this country, then because of that, I should now favor him. In my long career, I've interacted with very many people who have been good to me, and I've also been good to them. Some of them are in here. I promise you, if you stand for elections, and I was the one making the decision, you will get a fair decision. You will get what you deserve. 2, I am not a member of a political party, and I've not been an official in a political party. But there is a small twist. When I went to the office of the Registrar of Political Parties to get the document that I presented to you today, I found that some people registered me as a member of a party called Devolution Empowerment Party of Kenya. And I had never known about this. And the only thing that was there was my ID number. And of course, promptly, I was assisted to delete my name from that party. But so I've never belonged to a political party. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Professor. Professor, thank you very much. So the committee will look at your papers, will look at what you've told us, and
you know that Devolution Empowerment Party is a party that has a lot of root in Marimanti and those other areas. Perhaps it happened when you visited that.
Yes, that may be so.
Yeah, that it has false members.
Let me not make a comment on that one, but I'm 100% Professor resigned from it immediately because it was not his wish to be there, or you remained to be a member. Professor, did you remain a member when you discovered this, or you resigned?
That party? No. I deleted myself immediately. I don't even know the party. I deleted myself immediately.
He deleted himself immediately.
Thank you.
So that he is now party free. Thank you very much, Professor. We release you, and you'll be hearing from the House of National Assembly when we take our recommendation to them. Thank you so much.
I would like to underline that you have been nice to me. Thank you very much.
It felt like a lecture room.
Yes, it was very good, Professor. We were just mesmerized as you told us about all those matters. Absolutely mesmerized. Thank you. May we have the next candidate, please?